Welcome back to our English first paper another class. Dear learners, today our unit 13 and lesson 2, and our today's unit title food adulteration, and our today's lessons title eating habit and hazards. Dear learners, today we will enjoy an interesting video clip of a famous English short story, The Luncheon, written by Somerset Maugham. William Somerset Maugham is a British novelist, playwright, and short story writer whose work is characterized by a clear, lucid style and a profound understanding of human nature. The Luncheon is about a lady admirer of the writer who managed to get a luncheon invitation from him to expensive Paris restaurants 20 years ago. With humor and irony, the writer described the lady's lavish eating at his expense and what happened to her 20 years later. So, dear learners, let's enjoy the video. I caught sight of her at the play and answered to her beckoning. I went over during the interval and sat down beside her. It was long since I had last seen her, and if someone had not mentioned her name, I hardly think I would have recognized her. She addressed me brightly. "Well, it's made years since we first met. How time does fly. We are none of us getting any younger. Do you remember the first time I saw you? You asked me to luncheon. Did I remember? It was 20 years ago, and I was living in Paris. I had a tiny apartment in the Latin Quarter overlooking a cemetery, and I was earning barely enough money to keep body and soul together. She had read a book of mine and had written to me about it. I answered, thanking her, and presently I received from her another letter, saying she was passing through Paris and would like to have a chat with me. But her time was limited, and the only free moment she had was on the following Thursday. She was spending the morning in the Luxembourg, and would I give her a little luncheon at Ford's afterwards. Ford's is a restaurant at which the French senators eat, and it was so far beyond my means that I had never even thought of going there. But I was spluttered, and I was too young to have learned to say not to a woman. I had 80 Francs gold francs to last me the rest of the month, and a modest luncheon should not cost more than 15. If I cut out of coffee for the next 2 weeks, I could manage well enough. I answered that I would meet my friend by correspondence at Fires on Thursday, 12:30. She was not so young as expected, and in appearance amusing rather than attractive. She was in fact a woman of 40, and she gave me the impression of having more teeth, white and large, and even than were necessary for any practical purpose. She was talkative, but since she seemed inclined to talk about me, I was prepared to be an attentive listener. I was struck when the bill of fare was bought, for the prices were a great deal higher than I had anticipated, but she reassured me. I never eat anything for luncheon, she said. Oh, don't say that, I answered generously. I never ate more than one thing. I think people eat far too much nowadays. A little fish, perhaps. I wonder if they have any salmon. Well, it's early in the year for salmon, and it was not on the bill of fare. But I asked the waiter if there was any. Yes, a beautiful salmon had just come in. It was the first they had had. I ordered it for my guest. The waiter asked her if she would have something while it was being cooked. No, she answered, I never eat more than one thing. Unless you had a little caviar. I never mind caviar. My heart sank a little. I knew I could not afford caviar, but I could not very well tell her that. I told the waiter by all means to bring caviar. For myself, choose the cheapest dish on the menu. That was a mutton chop. I think you are unwise to eat meat, she said. I don't know how you can expect to walk after eating having things like sops. I don't believe in overloading my stomach. Then came the questions of drink. I never drink anything for luncheon, she said. Neither do I, answer promptly. Except white wine, she proceeded as though I had not spoken. These French white wines are so light, they are wonderful for the digestion. What would you like? I asked hospitably still. She gave me a bright and friendly flash of her white teeth. My doctor won't let me drink anything but champagne. I fancy I turned a trifle pale. I ordered half a bottle. I mentioned casually that my doctor had absolutely forbidden me to drink champagne. What are you doing? What are you going to drink? Water. She ate the caviar and ate the salmon. She talked gaily of art, letters, and music. But I wondered to what the bill would come to. When my mutton shop ate, she took me quite seriously to tax. I see that you are in the habit of eating a heavy lunch, and I am sure it's a mistake. Why don't you follow my example and just eat one thing? I'm sure you would feel ever so much better for it. I am only going to eat one thing, I said as the waiter came again with the bill of fare. She waved him aside with an airy gesture. No, I never eat anything for luncheon. Just a bite, I never want more than that, and I eat that more as an excuse for conversation. Than anything else, I couldn't possibly anything more. Unless they had some of those giant asparagus, I should be sorry to leave Paris without having some of them. My heart sank. I had seen them in the shops, and I knew that they were horribly expensive. My mouth had often watered at the sight of them. Madame wants to know if you have any of those giant asparagus, I asked the waiter. I tried with all my might to will to say no. A happy smile spread over his bold, priest-like face, and he assured me that they had some so large, so splendid, so tender, that it was a marvel. I am not in the least hungry, my guest says, but if you insist, you don't mind having some asparagus, I ordered them. Aren't you going to have any? No, I never ate asparagus. I know there are people who don't like them. The fact is you ruin your palate by all the meat you eat. We waited for the asparagus to be cooked. Pain says me it was not a question now. How much money I should have left over for the rest of the month. But whether I had enough to pay the bill, I would be horrifying to find myself 10 francs short and be obliged to borrow from my guest. I could not bring myself to do that. I knew exactly how much I had, and if the bill came to more, I made up mind that I would put my hand in my pocket and with a dramatic cry start up and say it had been picked. Of course it would be echoed. If she had not money enough either to pay the bill, then the only thing would be to leave my watch and say I would come back and pay later. The asparagus coming, and they were succulent and appetizing. I watched the woman thrust them down her throat in large mouthfuls, and in my polite way I discoursed on the condition of the drama in the balconies. At last she finished. Coffee, I said. Yes, just an ice cream and coffee, she answered. I was past carrying now, so I gave the following order. Coffee for myself and an ice cream and coffee for her. You know, there's one thing I truly believe in, she said as she ate the ice cream. One should always get up from a meal feeling one could eat a little more. Are you still hungry? I asked faintly. Oh no, I am not hungry. You see, I don't eat till luncheon. I have a cup of coffee in the morning and then dinner, but I never eat more than one thing for luncheon. I was speaking for you. Oh, I see. Then trivial things happened while we were waiting for the coffee. The head waiter came up to us bearing a large basket full of huge pieces. They had the blush of an innocent girl, they had the rich tone of an Italian landscape. But surely pieces were not in season then, Lord knew what this cost. I knew too a little later for my case. Going on, her conversation absent-mindedly took on. You see, you have filled your stomach with a lot of meat in my one miserable little shop, and you can't eat any more, but I have just had a snack and I shall enjoy a piece. The bill came, and when I paid it, found that only a coffin for whiteness. Here I rested for an instant on the 3 francs I left for the waiter, and I knew that she thought me mean, but when I walked out of the restaurant, I had the whole month before me and not a penny in my pocket. Follow my example, she said as we shook hands. And never eat more than one thing for luncheon. I will do better than that. I retorted that I will eat nothing for dinner tonight. Humorous, she cried gaily, jumping into a cab. You are quite humorous. But I have had my revenge at last. I am not a vindictive man. But when the gods punish someone, it is pardonable to observe the result with complacency. Now she is 21 ton weight. Dear learners, just now we have enjoyed the video clip. I hope that you have got much pleasure from this. No more today. Thank you so much for attending my English class. Goodbye.